Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. First of all, before we get into this, please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I also want to put out a disclaimer. I'm not going to talk about anything politically. I'm just going to talk about it from a tennis purely standpoint. That's all we're going to talk about. We'll talk about facts, reports, and then I'll give my opinion as well on the stance taken. Wimbledon. So everyone who watches this channel will know that I'm from the UK. I actually don't live too far from Wimbledon. I used to be part of their junior initiative up until the age of about 12, 13. And they're amazing. And, Wimbledon in general went there last year, men's quarterfinals, second round. I know quite a few people as well, not just, who were in the same age groups as me, but also, the director there as well used to coach me, etc. So, I have some very, very loose links, if you want to say. They've decided to ban Russian players, all Russian players, all Belarusian players as well from Wimbledon. That is the reports that are coming out. I do also want to say that Wimbledon haven't officially released a statement yet, but I thought I was going to wait, and I just thought, you know what? Everywhere is reporting it, and most likely it is going to be the case. So I just think let's talk about it now. Considering also they said before that they were going to allow players who basically denounced Putin as their leader and said, look, we don't agree with his views, they would allow them to come and play. Now they've seemed to have taken a completely different stance and just said, doesn't matter what your stance is, doesn't matter what your beliefs are, we are not going to allow any Russian or Belarusian players to compete at this Grand Slam, at our Grand Slam, at Wimbledon, on the grass, in one of the biggest tournaments in tennis. So what does that mean? So that means we're not going to see players like Daniil Medvedev, Andrey Rublev, Aslan Karatsev, Khachanov. That's just on the men's side. On the women's side, Sabalenka, Azarenka, Kastkina. We're not going to see Vondrousova, not Vondrousova, sorry, Gracheva. We're not going to see any of these players, right? Ivashka on the men's side as well, Gerasimov on the men's side. It's just, I can't understand exactly why this has happened. I understand that it's a hard stance they're taking from a political standpoint. That's great in terms of, put that to one side. Again, politically, I'm not going to talk about it from that sense, but what did the tennis players have to do with it? Like Pavyluchenkova as well. Like, she's not going to be playing on the women's side. She's a former Grand Slam finalist. We're going to have people who, like Medvedev, Rublev, Sabalenka, maybe Azarenka, but maybe those three especially, they would have been contenders for it. They would have been looking to make the quarters, the semis, the final, potentially even win it. We're not going to see the best players at Wimbledon, not because of injury, but because they're not being allowed to play. Now, to be honest with you, even when they said about their view and denouncing their leader, now I thought that was wrong anyway, because at the end of the day, like it's their political view has no bearing on them as a tennis player. As long as they're behaving in the correct manner on court, they're doing everything, they're being respectful. There's no hate, there's nothing on courts, right? They're a tennis player. Just remember, they're a tennis player, not politicians. Why should they not be allowed to play? It just completely baffles me. And the worst thing is that people like Pavyluchenkova and Rublev have openly come out and said, please stop the war, no war, peace, etc. They're not even going to be able to play, even though they've openly basically condemned what Russia are doing. Now, I'm not going to give my personal opinion on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, it's sad. Everyone wants peace. I think generally that's just my view on everything in life. But peace is obviously fantastic, and that's what everyone wants. I think for the most part, most people who are logical, I guess, you don't want to see people dying. It's just it's not great, is it? It's really sad to see. But let's look at it from a purely tennis point of view. Now, other countries, I guess, that have been in similar positions, they've never had these kind of sanctions. And I think it's pretty unfair that now we have a player like Medvedev, who was a former world number one, having to be subjected to this. Yes, I understand they earn a lot of money, and it's not going to make huge dents in their bank account probably. But some of them it will do. Some of the players that aren't in the top 10, some of them who are in the top 30, some of them that would have gone through qualifiers, some of them who actually they're in the prime of their careers. They want to take momentum from the year. They're in good form. They want to go into that and they want to perform at one of the biggest tournaments they're able to compete in. A lot of players as well, their dream is to specifically win Wimbledon because it's such an iconic tournament. I just can't understand why they've done this. And I know a lot of people are coming out and saying that it's great they're taking a hard stance, World War II, blah, blah, they're the right thing. Why are we talking about it from a political point of view? Whatever happened to sports and politics shouldn't mix? Because it seems like it's very, very selective at the moment. And I don't agree with it mixing at all. Either you have to say sports and politics are not going to mix full stop, or you say, okay, fine, we're happy for it to mix on a lot of topics then, right? You can't just say, well, and pick and choose it. And I think that is, I think, the issue that I have with it. And again, I don't think individuals should be penalized for it either. It's their livelihood. I understand that they're not, as I said, they're not going to be hugely affected financially by this. But one, that they're feeling like imagine how you'd feel, right? If you've done nothing wrong, but your leader or your country, a lot of these players might not even live in Russia, by the way, they might be living somewhere else, has gone out and done something, is completely wrong, and you're getting the brunt of it. How's that fair? If you conducted yourself in the right way, it makes absolutely zero sense to me. And I'm pretty strong on this view, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not of this opinion that, basically that, what's the phrase where they say, for the it's okay to basically penalize a few people for the good of the masses, basically, right? It's okay to harm the few. Why can't we just make sure that everyone is okay, right? Like at the end of the day, these guys, Medvedev and stuff, they're not part of that situation. They're completely separated. They're playing their tennis. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. It's really, really, really upsetting to me as well because I just think you want to see the best players playing for me as well. Like I'm going to look to go to Wimbledon again to go and watch matches. I saw Medvedev last year. I loved watching him play. I watched Khachanov as well. I watched two Russians playing last year. They played really well, and they conducted themselves fantastically. The crowd loved watching them. And now we're not going to see them because what? Because they're taking a political stance against a whole country in which, by the way, they're not even playing under their flags at the moment. So they've agreed, these players, not to play under their flags. So what's now the issue? If they're not playing under their flags, then there shouldn't be an issue, should there? Because they're not playing technically as Russians. And in tennis, you're playing as individuals. This isn't a team sport. It's not the Davis Cup. It's a specific tournament where you're playing as an individual. You're not playing under a country's banner anyways. So disappointing from mine. That's my kind of rant over, but it looks like that's what's going to come out. And I do hope they reconsider, and I do hope that they change their minds on it if this is the route they're going to go down, because I don't agree with it. Of course, who am I? It doesn't really matter what I think, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we can safely say I don't think the Wimbledon Board of Committee are going to care about what I think and the people in charge there. But it's just a disappointing choice. And, the Australian Open and Roland Garros, they've not taken that stance. And that's because I'm pretty sure they would have said, we are not going to get involved politically because sport and politics don't mix. Like, this is like, I just don't understand why now it's different. There's been multiple examples of stuff like this happening in history over spanning years, and not just since World War II in recent times. Nothing's been done about those. That hasn't been highlighted. In fact, when it's been flagged in a lot of sports, it's been banned, and they've told you're not allowed to talk about it. That's fine. Politics and sports don't mix. Now all of a sudden they do. So I think that's, it's disappointing. I just want to be talking about sport. I want to be talking about tennis, and instead, I think it's becoming murky, and I don't think that's right. So the players don't deserve that either. But yeah, anyways, that's my stance on it. Obviously, what's going. All I want personally, and like I'll give my very very short view on it is peace, and I don't want anyone to be harmed or hurt or dying, and it is absolute tragedy in anywhere in the world when it's happening. It really is. But these guys aren't part of it, right? So I think we just need to remember that. And then it's unfair because a lot of people will now associate them with it. Why? They're individuals. Anyways, that's all from me. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You may be hearing my little one in the background, so good time to go. Remember, it's all on podcast platforms, so do check us out on there, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Anchor, and also Google Podcasts. Do leave us a review, rate the show as well if you don't mind. Drop us a comment. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get involved and become part of the QualityShot community. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you on the next